All right, guys, welcome back to another video. And today, as you guys saw in the title, I have some cool things to show you guys on what I did to my office PC setup. You guys are obviously seeing some of it right now, obviously based on the video description and the video title. You guys know what we're talking about here. We're talking about these two monitors that I got. We got the monitor on sale this week. It used to be $1,200, and it was on sale this week for $900, so a $300 savings. That is the Alienware 32-inch that we're going to be talking about. That's sitting right here on the right. And then we have the Alienware that came out, I believe, a year or two ago. They do have a new model that just came out last month, and we're going to talk about why I didn't get that model and actually decided to get this one here, which is the same exact screen, 34-inch ultra wide. And we're going to talk about why I did that and why I didn't go with their, with the one that just came out this month, and how I ended up having this model. And just why I did this overall. If you guys have been following me on this channel, you guys know I used to have an LG C2. I didn't have two monitors before. I just had the one TV. These are now monitors. I had TVs before that were just one, a 42-inch, sorry, 42-inch LG C2. And I've been using that for the last couple of years since I made this office. And every time I used it, I always had some ideas in my head. I was like, do I really want this? Would I be better off with a monitor? It is really cool. And we're going to talk about all the reasons why I lifted away from that. Why I did it, because I also have a different use case for that LG monitor. It's not like I had to sell that C2. I kind of have an idea of what I wanted to do with it, and I wanted to get something for it anyway. So it kind of all just meshed together at the perfect opportunity to do something like this. So without further ado, we're going to talk about all those reasons on why I did this, and also show some gameplay on how games actually look on this and talk a little bit about that as well. Don't forget, guys, if you guys want to support me and the channel, links down below to these monitors will be down below. You can use my affiliate link there to help support the channel as always. So let's go ahead and get into the video.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech. Going for a brekkie is the gaming tech. Gaming tech is the gaming tech. Gaming techie.
All right, guys, so let's get a closer look at these monitors here like I talked about. So let's start off with talking about why I got rid of my LG C2 monitor. As you guys who follow me on this channel, you guys know I had one monitor before. It was technically a TV. It was an LG. A lot of people use those as monitors, and I got the 42-inch model, and I had it on my desk here for the last couple of years that I built this office. But ever since then, I always had this idea that, like, do I actually want to have one monitor setup, or do I want to go back to having a traditional two monitor setup? And I kept going back and forth on it. And recently, I really had a different idea to using that LG C2 in a different way downstairs, which you guys will get a sneak peek and see later on this week in a video. And I was like, you know what? Maybe it's that time. And I started looking at monitors, and I was like, I definitely want an OLED screen, because obviously the LG has kind of spoiled me when it comes to OLEDs and the deep blacks and the colors and everything. And I was like, you know what? I haven't had an ultrawide in like 10 years, over 10 years. And I used to love ultrawide. So I should get an ultrawide as my quote unquote main PC monitor, where I kind of have it on the left side. And that's where I do a lot of my desktop stuff, browsers opened and all that stuff, watching YouTube videos if I need to while I'm playing a game. And then I have the 4K monitor on the right, which is where I primarily game. And I started looking down the rabbit hole, and I was like, oh, this Alienware that came out has gotten really, really good reviews for the ultra wide, and it came out a couple of years ago, and that's this one here. I will put the model here in the video right now, what this model is. This is the one that is a couple of years old that people raved about when it came out. They do have a model that just came out this past month, which is this model right here that you guys are seeing on screen. And I almost got that model, but there was a couple of reasons why I went away from it. The only difference between this model and that one, this one actually has a G-Sync Ultimate module in it. The other one is just, the new one is actually just G-Sync compatible. So this one's a little bit better, because then since it has the G-Sync module inside, I could actually go down to as low as 10 hertz to support G-Sync, which is awesome. So it's actually a little bit better in that case. But this one is 175 hertz. The newer model is 240. Which isn't a big deal to me. So I decided to go with this model. But then the other thing that kind of pissed me off, and this is a little bit more of a silly thing, and my monitor's just turned off because I have them on a 10-minute background, so I'll turn these back on because they're OLEDs and I don't want them to sit there for no reason, but we'll turn that back on here for you guys. But The other thing that you guys can see is that on the back here, this is what I really like about Alienware. I love the Alienware design here on the back. This is the ultra-wide. You can see the alien head, and this is kind of illuminating and stuff like that. You can see the 34 there, and this is the model that just came out for the other one that's brand new, which we'll talk about in a second. You can see that also has the white on the back, and it actually illuminates the numbers, so it's a little different than this one that the number doesn't illuminate, but it's the middle. This one illuminates the actual side there of the number, and then the logo there on the other side. But I hated that they changed the design to just be generically all black. Obviously, some people are going to like that design. You guys can see the newer version here of a picture of it, but I really liked this version instead because of the white, and of course because it's going to match this one, because the new model over there, the 32-inch 4K monitor, I knew was going to have the white in the back, and this just matches better, of course, with the theming of my room. And this is going to be the first thing people see when they walk in. And I was like, God damn it, I'm not really going to choose a monitor just because of the color on the back, but I was like, I just really like this design. It reminds me more of the Alienware look that I grew up as a kid, and I don't really like their regular black design that they have. Yes, it's a more modern look to the monitor, but I don't really care about that. So between the fact that this had the G-Sync Ultimate module, that was number one, the fact that it was white, I started looking and I was like, you know what? If I can find, this was an $800 monitor. If I can find this monitor for cheaper, then I will see if I can find it used and see what I can find out there. And if not, I'll just get the new one, screw the color, I'll just deal with the color, and the G-Sync Ultimate is no big deal. Luckily, I came across a Facebook posting listing on this monitor that I found it for $500 on Facebook Marketplace, and then I offered the guy $400 and he took it. So I basically got half off. I got this monitor for $400. So for $400 more, I could have gotten the new one that would have went from 175 to 240 hertz. That obviously didn't seem to make sense at that point anymore. So I decided to obviously not do that and get this one from him for $400. And what's even better is that this is he got a couple of months ago, he actually had a small issue with the OLED panel that had like a little bit of burn-in on his monitor because he had it for a couple of years, and he actually went to Dell and they replaced it under the 3-year warranty that they have with these OLED panels, that they all come with a 3-year warranty of any burn-in issues. They instantly replace it. So he basically got a new monitor from Dell literally right before I got this monitor for him. So it's basically $400 for a new one, because that's essentially what it is, because he didn't use it. He got it from Dell and then he put it up for sale because he went with something else. So I got extremely lucky finding this monitor locally to me. It was only a 40-minute drive, and like I said, I got to get the white. The only thing I lost from the new model is 175 hertz instead of 240. And the new model also uses a slightly newer panel as opposed to this one, but nothing that's going to make me sway one direction or the other. They're both the same resolution. They both look fantastic. They were both 34-inch ultra wide. It's just a spec bump in the Alienware line, and for $400 less than the fact that this is basically new, it was a no-brainer. So I went with that one. This is amazing. As you can see, I had this set up for the Star Wars day that just happened this weekend. I like to theme my wallpapers. You can see I have my wallpapers change every once in a while, since this is an OLED and you got to take care of these things for burn-in issues. I use Wallpaper Engine on Steam, and that kind of rotate these every once in a while. So that same wallpaper is not always on my computer. Same thing with those icons. I rotate those around every once in a while. I should get rid of those icons to be on the desktop at all, but that's why the start menu is not at the bottom until you hover over it either. But yeah, super happy with this ultra wide. I'll show you guys some gameplay here in a little while, but amazing. Like I talked about, I'll show you guys that during gameplay. And then we have the other monitor here. We'll talk about this, and this is the 4K. This is the one that just came out that people have been raving about within the last year, and you can see the model number here below. This is actually on sale. It was $1,200. It is now on sale for this week only, at least at a bunch of different places. At Best Buy is where I got mine, from $1,200 to $900, so you can save $300. So it's a crazy good deal. This is a 32-inch 4K 240 hertz monitor, has G-Sync compatibility with it, so it's not doesn't have the module like this one does with the physical module inside, but it has G-Sync compatibility, so you'll still have a really great time with basically no tearing, as long as you're not going down to like 20 frames a second or whatever. So this is obviously amazing. This 4K monitor is great. They're both, like I said, OLED panels. This one is brand new, so it does use a newer panel than this one does as far as the tech that it uses. I believe this is using I forget which panel version it's using, but regardless, this one's using a newer one because it's obviously a newer one, and this one is using an older one. And the ultrawides aren't using the newer panels like these 32-inch ones are. But this thing is amazing. I mean, I love the design of the Alienware. I love small things like the power button kind of glows with the LEDs, just like the back of them do. I love the white stand because it matches my white aesthetics that I kind of already had here with these here, with the room being white. So this like kind of matches the whiteness over there, my Steam Deck there in the middle. So all of that really worked really well. And again, I love the monitor design. And you know, I've loved Alienware for a while. I haven't had one of their monitors in years, but I'm really happy with this setup. And like I said, yes, I had the LG C2, and it did serve me well. I have a 42-inch LG, but you know, I kind of got sick of it. I kind of got sick of it because you know it is a big monitor. So obviously, my desk isn't like the biggest desk in the world. So you know, when you're playing mouse and keyboard, you can't. It's not. It's kind of going over your vision, so you can't see the whole screen without turning your head to the left or to the right. So that's not great for FPS games and stuff like that. It's great when you're playing single player games and I could just sit back from all the way over here and just enjoy it. But you know, I like being at my desk at my computer. I like being in front of my keyboard and stuff. And I play a lot of mouse and keyboard games. I only use a controller when I have to for like racing games and stuff. But like when I can use a mouse and keyboard, I will. So that was one of the things that kind of drove me away from it. It was the fact that having two monitors is better for my workflow. You know, I work from home a few days a week at my regular job, and now I can have this monitor right here plugged into my work laptop and I can use it, and then I can still have this one using my regular computer if I need to do that, which I couldn't do before because it was only one screen that I had. So I had to keep having to flip back and forth, which was super annoying. And then I got a KVM switch sitting back here for my mouse and mouse and keyboard, so I could just touch of a button switch from my work laptop to my PC with my mouse and keyboard, and just have one mouse and keyboard, and I can control both monitors, my work laptop on the left and this one on the right, which makes things flow a lot better. So that was obviously awesome as well. And just having another screen is a big deal. The LG C2 is a great monitor, but when you're playing a full screen game, you obviously got no other screen to do anything with if you want to look something up on YouTube or have your chat up or stuff like that. So I now have another monitor. I think a two-screen setup is better than one. And could I have kept my LG C2 and just gotten another monitor? Possibly, but that thing was pretty big on my desk of being a 42-inch screen. So it would have had to have been like a portrait monitor. I couldn't have used like a landscape monitor, which again wouldn't have worked with my workflow and stuff like that, because then I can't do it as easily as I could do with this. And you know, these OLED models have come a long way since the last time I bought the LG TVs. You know, when I bought that, the OLED models didn't really exist for PCs. They were pretty bad when it came to, you know, those OLED models and stuff like that. So this is a much better situation now than it used to be before with these two monitors now, and I'm super happy with it. You know, are they as good as the LG C2? They're not good in every aspect, and they're not as good in every aspect, but I think HDR is still better on TVs, obviously, because they can get a lot brighter and the panels are just way better on TVs when it comes to HDR. So even though these are HDR 1000 monitors, it's still going to be something that you're going to, you know, not have as good of a HDR game compared to the LG C2. So I did lose a little bit in that, but the color accuracy and the color representation are better on both of these monitors than they were on the LG C2 panel. The colors here are much better. They're more accurate and stuff like that. So that's a win because this has a more matte reflection as opposed to the OLED panels that LG makes that kind of has like that, you know, glossy thing that a lot of people do like, which I do like as well, but that is more respective to, you know, reflections coming in the windows and stuff like that I have right next to me. So again, there's some caveats on both sides, but for me at the end of the day, having two monitors, having these still be OLED, having the color accuracy be way better so the colors just still look better represented on here, just losing a little bit of the fact that HDR is a little bit brighter on those LG panels, and the fact that I lose the glossy to a little bit more matte tone, so the colors don't pop as much as that LG. But when I put them side by side, it really wasn't a big deal, and it's not something that was going to sway my decision. And again, I have another use case for the LG C2, so it just made more sense to me for all these reasons that we just talked about here in the video. But you know, obviously it's going to vary person to person of what you're actually looking for. But for me, this was a much better choice now. The LG C2 was a better choice for me 2-3 years ago when I got it, because OLED models of monitors were still terrible back then, but we've come a long way, and now I'm super happy to have an ultrawide back in the house that gives that wow factor of PC gaming when people come over, and you know, having two monitors all over again and having this nice 4K monitor right next to me, not having to worry about using a TV, turning it on with a remote, dealing with the LG updates and all that stuff that come with using a TV. Now it just turns on with my computer. So, the usual stuff that a monitor can give you. All right, guys, the first thing I wanted to talk to you guys about really quickly before we get into the gameplay is the adjustments that I would make on this monitor as soon as you get it to make, the monitor the best that you can get if you guys are using these monitors like I am. So first thing is you hit the middle button here to get into the main menu, and then you hit up to get into the full menu. And the first thing you want to do that I got caught up in is that you can't change some of these options if you have HDR enabled on your actual computer. So it's not going to let you change some of these. So you basically need to go into your display settings on your computer here. And you see here when you select the monitor, there is an option here for HDR. You're going to go ahead and just turn that off for a second. I'm doing it with you guys just now. Of course, I had it turned on before. And then when you turn it off, then you can get the full suite of options in here. Now you can see some other options are highlighted because you want to go ahead and turn on the preset modes that they have in here. They have a bunch of different ones. You want to go into creator mode if you want to get the best color accuracy out of the monitor. That goes for both monitors. These settings are going to be applied on both. So, and the exact same thing, you need to turn off HDR on the other one before you can get into these options. Otherwise, you won't be able to see it. So first thing, go into preset mode and turn on creator mode. That's going to give you the best as far as, that's got a timeout feature. That's going to give you the best color accuracy. Now, if you don't care about color accuracy and you just want more vibrant colors, then you can go into standard mode instead. But I wanted the best color accuracy, so I went into creator mode. You can see when you flip through them, how the colors change on the monitor as you guys are looking at. So you can see there, game 1, sports. You can see how the colors are kind of changing there. So once you do that and you select creator, you can leave the rest as is on this side, and then you're going to go into brightness. Everyone usually recommends for these monitors to set the brightness at 100%. Of course, you can change it to your liking, but based on all the reviews and everything I've seen, this is the recommended thing that a lot of people have talked about out there, to set this to 100%. So that is what I did. Then you have the other important option here, which is going into making sure input color format is set to RGB. And make sure, because this is not coming this way, when you go into Smart HDR, which is what you can't get to when you have HDR turned on, you're going to go in here and you're going to originally have this set to display HDR True Black 400. You're going to want to change this to HDR Peak 1000. That's giving you the full brightness capability of the display when you set it to HDR Peak 1000. It comes set at HDR Peak 400, Black 400, so you're going to want to change that there. So, and that's pretty much it. Once you change those 3 options there, then things will be in a really good place. And like I said, you're going to want to do the same thing on the other monitor here. It functions the exact same way because, of course, it's built by the same company. So the menu is very, very similar, as you can see here. And when you go into there, you'll have the exact same thing. I set the preset mode to creator mode, which is already set. And you can do that. I had to turn off HDR for you guys so I can actually see this stuff correctly. But you can see here, you go into preset, you go ahead and change it to creator, leave the rest as is. And now you can see that that's set to creator. You make sure HDR mode on this one is set to HDR Peak 1000. Again, it's going to come at HDR 400 True Black. You want to change that to HDR Peak 1000 on there. And also, again, brightness set to 1000. That's all you need to do as far as here, and then of course you go back in here to the display options and turn on HDR for both of the monitors again. Don't forget, of course, to go into your advanced display here and just change your FPS to what it should be. You can see mine is set to 239,999 for this one, as you can see, and then this one is set to, and both of these are connected via DisplayPort, if you guys are wondering. And you can see the resolution on the first monitor there, the Ultrawide, is set to 3440 by 1440, and you can see the other one is set to 4K, as you guys are looking at there. Now, in order to show you this gameplay, you can see that right here on the right hand side, you can see that I have my icon sitting right here. So I did make this my main display now. One of the caveats of having 2 displays is that if you want to play one game on one monitor or one on the other, sometimes games have good options in there to change the display that you actually want to use, but sometimes they don't. And then things become a little wary on where you actually want to put it, and sometimes even hitting Alt Tab and then trying to move the screen doesn't work all the time. Using the arrow keys, some of those don't work. So the easiest thing to do is just before you launch a game, if you're going to play it on one side or the other, just make that display the main display. It's just easier, and that's what I've come across. in the years that I've been playing PC. So the first game I'm going to show you is actually a mod to Battlefront 2. Since Star Wars is just this past weekend, this would be a good showcase for it. And this game looks fantastic on ultrawide and also on the 4K. So we're going to do the ultra side first. And this is Kyber. This is an early access program that I'll probably do a separate video on to deep dive into it. That basically lets it make it really easy to use mods online on other servers or host your own server with friends, and making downloading mods so much easier than it used to be for Battlefront 2. I'm just going to host my own server right now. All right, so you can see thanks to mods, we have all these different characters that we can use in instant action mode. We have the Mandalorian sitting right here, which is freaking awesome. Just a bunch of new characters, as you can see here. This is all thanks to mods, but let's go ahead and dive into the game. And this game in ultrawide looks amazing. Check this out, guys. Everyone there with their lightsabers running around. And this game, like I said, just look at how fantastic. I mean, this game has always looked really good. The mods make it look even better with some of the mods that people have created out there. And this being Star Wars this past weekend has got me into playing these mods and just looking at how good a 5090 can run this game. It is currently running completely maxed out with HDR in ultra-wide at 164 frames a second right now. So almost maxing out the 175 that this monitor supports. All of these have custom sounds like you're hearing right here. And we're getting blown up. Oh, we just got our asses kicked. Just use a bunch of different characters here. You can see they have their own audio work as well. People have done custom audio for different characters to make them sound more like the movies and stuff. It's just insane what people have been doing with this game. And of course you can play this game with the AI and everything too, which is super cool. You live in your own Star Wars fantasy playing this game.
Stormtroopers, prepare to engage!
Switching now to the same game on the 4K screen, you could see, I didn't show you before, but 4K, 240 hertz, everything is set to ultra here. Again, most of these mods you can either play online on the Kyber servers, or you can also play them in instant action mode. And we have so many different modes now in instant action, unlike what the original game came with. You can now play a bunch of different things like Heroes vs. Villain, Extraction, Blast. You can play some other ones too. So, and play them on all a variety of maps, which is super awesome. And I do have the volume lower on the PC, so hopefully we don't get copyright strikes for all the music going on in here, which is why it's a little low while I talk over it. But all right, so you can see again, I have some of my, you have some characters here that you can use, but obviously you have to unlock them as you play. So we're just gonna have to go ahead and stick with the salt for the time being. But all of these purple cards and stuff are all unlocked when you're doing instant action with these mods, which is awesome. So let's go ahead and select.
The Republic dare to strike at Geonosis. We shall teach those clones the meaning of battle and defeat.
So you can see how fantastic this is looking right here. I know it's not going to be captured perfectly on a 4K screen, but I just wanted to show you these games running on a monitor. This game has good HDR support, when it, especially when these mods are taken into account. It looks really good. The lighting looks fantastic. The graphics have always looked great in this game, but like I said, they've just gotten better with mods and the lighting people do with the mods and just changing some things up that people didn't maybe like about it, and they wanted to do it now. Oh, I just got into some heated battle. That was just, he put up a shield. This is the AI too. He put up a shield on me and he said, "You ain't going nowhere." So we didn't last very long there. Gotta love the iconic Star Wars. Be cool if I can aim real quick. Am I getting hit from the side? Yo, this AI stuff is crazy. Alright, we got one, so we don't look like fools. Yeah, I wasn't getting that other guy when I was losing health already. But man, this game looks and runs so good in HDR and 4K or in ultra-wide, depending on how you want to play it, like I just showed you guys. Super, super fun. And obviously, other games, of course, look great on this monitor, which is no shock. But this is just what I wanted to show you guys. And the last one I just wanted to show you real quick on this ultrawide because it looks so good, also in HDR and just in ultrawide in general, is Red Dead Redemption 2. And here we are with Red Dead, as you guys are looking at here. Running in ultrawide. I mean, look at this landscape. Look how good that freaking looks. I know I'm not like showing you a lot right now because of where I am in the game, but this just looks so good. I mean, look at him up close. He's out of breath because I was making him run. Here comes our horse. I mean, this game has always looked good, but haven't seen this game on an ultra-wide before. Because like I said, I haven't done ultra-wide in forever. Boy! Man, look at this. It just looks like you're living and breathing in a world. In ultra-wide, it just looks that good. And it's not even in 4K, it's in ultra-wide, so it's not...
Howdy.
Where was that?
Looks really, really good. All right, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed that video here on my little office overview now with these two monitors. I couldn't be happier having these two monitors now in front of me. Like I talked about in the overview there, the LG C2 was an amazing, TV monitor. It had 120 hertz on it. It served my purpose well. Obviously, there are some things about it that technically trump these two monitors. You know, the coating that thing has to make the colors even more vibrant than what you see here is definitely true. Some people prefer that coating that thing uses. Obviously, it's a lot more receptible to, if my windows and shades are open like that, to reflections and stuff, which I very easily saw in this room when I was using that monitor. But the coating and the vibrancy of the colors definitely is there. But it is only 120 hertz. These monitors here, this one is 175, the ultra wide, this one is 240. So obviously got a bump up in both ways in that the color accuracy on these are much better than what they were on the LG C2. So you'll see a lot better colors on here represented on both of these monitors. So that's a point for this as well. But nothing beats the HDR-ness of what you got with that LG C2 because TVs are just further along with their panels that they're using and with HDR. But as far as, the colors and the representation of the colors and how good these monitors look in games, this definitely wins out when it comes to that LG C2. The LG C2 wins out in the coating to make colors appear more vibrant if that's the way that you want to look at it. And then also on the fact that the HDR in games that support it on PC will definitely look brighter on those LG panels and definitely look better in HDR on that panel. But they still look fantastic on here. I showed you guys it. I don't miss my LG C2. I think it has a way better purpose. And like I talked about in the video there, it's going to be going somewhere in the arcade. And we're going to do a different video on that, coming later on. That will come out this week. We'll showcase, what I did with that and some of the issues I had with that. But I don't miss it at all. This is exactly what I wanted. I wanted to go back to monitors for the reasons that I mentioned before. The fact that now my PC powers on with the monitors. The fact that I have two monitors instead of one, which means that like when I work at home, obviously I work from home sometimes at my regular 9-to-5 job, and I can connect my laptop to this monitor and still be able to use my PC over here. So I have two PCs being used at the same time. The LG C2 42-inch had a lot of space, but it's still a lot better in my eyes to have one monitor concentrating on one thing and one monitor concentrating on the other. Having an LG C2, it's fantastic for games, but when I play a game on my LG C2, I'm not really able to browse on the left side of it or do anything else with it. So going back to having two monitors is fantastic. And I haven't had an ultra-wide monitor in probably like over 10 years at this point. And I used to have it and I used to love it. And now I kind of reminisce on why I used to like it so much. I mean, it is really cool. Yes, I do wish ultra-wide would eventually get to 4K ultra-wide as opposed to, what we have now, which is the middle ground of 1080p to, it's like 2K-ish basically, sitting in the middle of that as far as the resolution goes. But man, playing games on ultrawide, you know, I go back and forth. Sometimes now I go on here and I'm like, all right, what am I going to do? I'm going to play on my ultrawide today. I want to experience ultrawide. And then other times I'll be like, hey, I want to experience it on this screen over here because I want to play in 4K and, you know, get the highest resolution possible and want to have the highest FPS when it comes to the shooter games I'm playing, if that game can reach 240 FPS, depending. Obviously, I have a 5090 here behind me that lets me support these monitors, run them at the high refresh rate that they're demanding. But yeah, it's a struggle to decide which monitor I want to use for games. But I think for the most part, the reason I got both of these is, of course, the ultra-wide gaming is cool to use sometimes, and I do still, like I talked about, do that. But it's more about the fact that 4K over here, playing my 4K games like I always have before, and then coming on this screen over here and using that for all my monitor-related tasks, whether it be having the chat up or going on YouTube, looking stuff up, being on the web browser, whatever the case may be. I think this is a much better workflow when I'm working from home as well, where I have the left side using my work computer, and then over here I might have this computer, and I could do two things at once. It's just a much better workflow than just having the LG C2. As big as it was, 2 monitors is still better than 1. And yes, I could have just gotten another monitor and left the LG C2 in here, but like I said, there was a lot of caveats to having that as, you know, a monitor that's really a TV that we talked about throughout this video that, you know, made me sway to getting a monitor to begin with. So hopefully that gives you guys an idea. If you guys are out there looking to see what you guys are, or if you guys are in the same boat with the LG TVs out there that I know a lot of people are using and you're thinking about it, you know, I don't regret it at all. I love this setup. I think it's a lot better for me. And the LG C2 has a new home that you guys will see later on this week. So I hopefully you guys got a lot of information on this video and enjoyed it. Thank you guys for watching. Until next time.